You might not guess by his appearance, that appearance being a massive 9-foot bear. But Yatta Cavallo is just a young boy. A young, somewhat troublesome boy, being quite honest. Before the reckoning, without much care of the struggles of those around him, young Yatta would always be scheming his next big prank. The prank that Yatta was most proud of was his infamous cherry bomb. His parents were alchemists by trade, and with a simple mixture, created contraptions that would fly high into the sky and explode in a beautiful array of colors. They called them star pops. The people of Danward Village loved to see the shows that Yatta's parents would put on. Truly amazing displays of colors. Yatta, on the other hand, created his own version. He combined a much more volatile mixture and put it into a small round casing with various gaudy sparkles and other decorations. When ignited, it exploded violently with an assortment of colors, sounds, and shrapnel. Hiding these cherry bombs in unlikely places and surprising the villagers with them was his new favorite hobby. The villagers began to despise Yatta even more than ever, but kept their disdain to themselves out of respect for his parents. Without relenting, every day, Yatta was crafting his cherry bombs and annoying anyone unfortunate enough to cross his path. One night, a woman traveling through town struck up a conversation with Yatta's mother and father. Seemed she had heard of their star pops and was quite interested to hear more about them. Her name was Popia. Yatta, of course, never wanted to pass up an opportunity to use one of his cherry bombs, hid one in a cloth bag at her side. As Popia was leaving the shop his father owned, Popia opened the door just as the cherry bomb exploded. Popia was caught completely off guard and tumbled off the steps, landing on the dirt path. Various colors and sparks fluttered down around her. Yatta's father scolded him harshly for his actions and instructed him to apologize. Yatta stepped forward as Popia got up to her feet. Yatta began to apologize. Popia stared at him intently and saw no sincerity in his voice. She smiled and accepted his apology, then left. What Yatta did not know about Popia is that she was actually a witch, and a powerful one at that. That night, she cursed him. In the morning, Yatta was awoken to the sound of his bedroom door opening and the screams of his mother. Yatta attempted to leap from his bed, only to realize he was on the ground already. His bed was completely broken. He attempted to roll over and stand, but he couldn't. His body felt awkward and heavy. Taking a moment to look around and at himself, he began to also shout, or rather, to his surprise, growl. He had been turned into a massive black and white bear. Yatta tried to speak, but no words came out, just grunts and growls. After a long morning of chaos, his parents eventually figured out that this massive 9-foot bear was their son. Over the next few weeks, they tried to figure out a cure, but despite all the doctors and wizards they spoke to, none had an answer. The people of Danward eventually caught wind of the fate of Yatta. It was safe to assume they were overjoyed to hear that Yatta finally got what he deserved. The trickery was finally at an end. Months went by, and still no progress on finding a cure for Yatta. That said, he had gotten quite used to his new body. He still wasn't able to speak, but he had gotten good at moving around and using his various spare parts. He was much stronger now, and much faster. He even got so good at using his new hands, he could even help his parents craft the various star pops. He had experimented before, but now he was actually learning more and more about the actual chemistry. Occasionally, his mind would wander, and he would think back to his days of pranking the villagers. He was now feeling remorse, but he couldn't help but think of what new creative devices he could now make with his increased knowledge. One night, as Yatta was running around in the woods behind his village, He could hear the faint sounds of what seemed to be screams coming from downward. Quickly, he got on all fours and made his way to the village. The closer he got, the louder the screams became. Also, he was now picking up various scents. He could smell smoke, rot, and death. Without delay, he ran as quick as he could. As he crossed the last few trees and could now see the village, he was greeted by a terrible sight. The entire village was set ablaze. The villagers were running around and screaming as various demons, serpents, skeletons, and other beasts were killing all in their path. Confidently, Yatta charged through the demon hordes, crushing all in his path, his great might easily slaying all he came across. Yatta finally arrived at his home, or what was left of it. It was now nothing but a smoldering pile of rubble. Yatta called out to his parents in a loud roar. Even though the growls of the demons around him and the screams of the villagers were deafening, he could make out his father's voice calling out for his name. Yatta followed his voice as quickly as he could. Eventually, he found his father hiding away down a dark alleyway. To his dismay, he saw his father holding the bloodied body of his mother. His father set his wife's body aside and stood up wiping tears from his eyes. "Yatta, we have to help the village," he said. Yatta nodded and turned. Before he could charge into battle to save his village, his father once again called out to him. Yatta watched as his father tied a large satchel to his massive body. Yatta was confused until his father reached into the bag and pulled out a massive round ball, decorated as his old cherry bombs were. His father handed one to his son and said, "You once used these to prank the villagers. Now use these to save them." Yatta smiled, or at least as best he could with his bare features, and charged into battle. Sounds of demons being crushed beneath his massive paws, along with colorful explosions, echoed through the village. In time, the villagers, along with Yatta, managed to fend off the attack and save their village. Yatta's father ran his hand along the black and white fur of his strange son and said, "You did well today, son, but this battle isn't over. No, I think it is only beginning." From this day forward, Yatta would be known as Yatta Cavallo, the Trickster Bear.